What is up, YouTube? It is Docky or Docky Style Gaming, and I am back at it again with another GodFall video for you all today. Now, this video is going to be kind of a big one because we got a lot of information to go over. From exclusive content to co-op gameplay to the open world, hidden quest, the game's resolution, and so much more. So, like I always say, without wasting any more of y'all's time, let's hop straight into all of this brand new info. Now, luckily, like my last PlayStation Magazine article I covered, I was able to get it pretty much before it dropped because this is for the PlayStation UK December 2020 magazine, where we got a bunch of information on GodFall. They were doing a full lineup of articles for the PlayStation 5 Day 1 games, and of course, since GodFall is a launch title, we got some GodFall info, surprisingly a 6-page spread as well, and that's where a majority of this info is going to be coming from. So in the article, they interviewed the CEO of Counterplay Games, Keith Lee, and they talked to him for the most part about his work in the game industries for the past 18 years. Working for studios like Insomniac and Blizzard, he also worked on the weapon system for Ratchet & Clank and more before eventually founding Counterplay Games. Now, according to the article, Keith Lee isn't shy of his ambition for GodFall. It goes on to say that GodFall is not a games as a service, so chill out, it is not a live service game like Destiny or Anthem or the Avengers. He honestly compared it more to Diablo by saying you have a beginning and you have a story campaign, you have an end game, and you can take the loot that you've acquired and continue to play with your friends into the end game. Now, when asked about how GodFall will play, we briefly talked about the co-op aspects of GodFall before saying it's fast-paced and we are not a defensive game, meaning that you don't try to extend the time through slowly picking off enemies. It's almost like you're moving forward rather than stopping and backing off and slowing down. And then pretty much went on to say that we want to give players that power fantasy. Now, the next thing they talked about were the weapon classes, and I have talked about these in multiple videos. I've even done a few breakdowns on them on the channel as well, so I'm not going to go into them in complete detail here. If you want to check those out, again, I have multiple videos and I have breakdowns for some of them on the channel. But next, they went on to talk about how the game runs on the PS5, and they did confirm that it'll be running on 4K 60 frames per second on the PS5. Now, I remember in the initial trailer, some people were worried about the frame rates, thinking that it might have been in 30 frames per second, especially when they did some of the PlayStation live streams. But according to the article, it is confirmed to be running in 4K 60 frames per second. Now, something else that they talked about and that they've kind of talked about in every interview was the DualSense. Now, honestly, I'm just going to leave that bit of information out because, like I said, they talk about it in just about every article, and it kind of just feels like a talking point at this point. So until I get my hands on the DualSense, I really don't have much to say even on that topic. I've been playing PlayStation games without a controller like the DualSense for a long time, so I really don't think it's going to change my gaming experience too much, but I feel like it's just a talking topic because it's a PlayStation 5 launch title, and the game was made for the PlayStation 5. Now, this next bit of info is the info that I know a lot of people were wondering about, and it is the gameplay. Now, they started by saying that the entire game can be played in co-op. Now, for those of you who don't know, co-op will consist of up to 3 players, yourself and 2 others. Now, the rest of this info is where we kind of get into Borderlands territory, kind of Borderlands 3 if we're being real, which kind of makes sense with Gearbox publishing it. But the article goes on to say that GodFall is a narrative-driven adventure that you can experience with friends. They said spaces aren't narrow or closed, some veer into semi-open world where you are free to explore, track down rare loot, defeat hidden mini-bosses, complete secondary and hidden quests, and then went on to say that we want to make sure players can still explore and look around and pick up other activities or small micro activities, and think public events and potentially world events in this case. But they said that they want all of this to be able to be done and completed during your normal missions as well. So for those of you who haven't played Borderlands 3, or just honestly any Borderlands game, that's really what this sounds like. Borderlands games aren't traditionally open world, but they are semi-open world. There's huge spaces with many bosses, treasures, and definitely hidden quests and items for you to do while you also play the main campaign. Genshin Impact is actually kind of similar to this right now as well, and Destiny to an extent was like that, even though most of their story missions are specifically missions, but you can go back to some of their kind of semi-open world areas. Now, it did go on to say that you have a primary objective to complete to fulfill the objective of these story missions. It then goes on to say that when the job is done, the boss lies at your feet and the loot is gathered, you relocate to the 7th Sanctum. Here you can use earned resources to upgrade weapons or manage discovered augments. They even tease that there's some additional post-release add-ons that they'll be considering if players really want it. Now, we've seen the 7th Sanctum a lot of times. We know that it's the player's hub, but the more that they kind of talk about it in this article, the more it kind of feels like Sanctuary 3 from Borderlands 3, which honestly isn't a bad thing. I mean, I'm a huge Borderlands fan, and like I've been saying for a while, if Godfall is to follow any form of the looter shooter genre, I'd hope personally that it would be the Borderlands formula, in terms of how big their base game is, how big their DLCs are going to be, and the type of in-game that we can expect from it. Now, lastly, when it comes to gameplay, Keith Lee did say that the Towers of Trials game mode is a good way to test your skills and loadout combinations. Now, that is just one game mode. If you want to check out some of the other ones, I made a video on the 5 different game modes that we know of so far, but it seems like Towers of Time is going to be the place where you want to build up your characters as strong and powerful as you can and test them out to see how far you can go in the towers. Now, the last bits of information that we got from this article, one was about the art style of the game, and they talked about its art director, who actually used to be the lead character designer for Blizzard, and apparently even designed Tracer and probably some other characters for Overwatch, but then goes on to PS5 specs and particle effects and more, but mainly it's a lot of the tech mumbo jumbo of the game. So that's all the new info we got from the article, but there's still so much more because we just kept getting more and more information that dropped today. So on Godfall's Twitter, they did confirm that tomorrow we will be getting a deep dive into loot progression from an IGN article. So of course, you know I'll be breaking it down so y'all lazy selves don't have to read it, but also with that post we got to look at the character menu, but this time in English. And luckily it looks like my translations were right for the most part with everything that we got here. Still hoping to see a bit more tomorrow from the IGN article, but I kind of hope we get some type of footage because they said it is an article, so potentially it might just be more reading, but like I said, so y'all don't have to read it, I'll be breaking it down for y'all. Now also on Godfall's Twitter, we got even more lore details, which came from another passage from the Chronicle of the Wolf, which is definitely seeming like it is for sure a macros page. But the little bit of lore that we got from it says that the Skybreaker's monolith is a wonder. Within the massive superstructure is a nearly infinite world of layered elemental realms speared through by a central tower. We could have entire nations in there. And we actually have got to see Orin looking at a diagram of this twice in the cinematic trailer. Now lastly, speaking of lore, it seems that Gearbox and Counterplay Games has reached out to the Destiny lore man himself, My Name is Bife, to release some exclusive series of Godfall lore videos. It's also said that it'll have some concept art and gameplay in it, so for those of you who are interested in lore, Bife will be dropping some info, and those of you who are waiting for those videos, be sure to check out some of mine because I have put out many Godfall lore videos on the channel already because I love the lore of this game, and I definitely can't wait to see some of that exclusive info that Bife gets. So with that, I'm going to be ending the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, I haven't seen anybody post, talk about, or even mention this new information that came from this PlayStation article, even though again, it's a PlayStation December 2020 article from the UK of all places, but I thought people might still want to hear about it because there was some pretty important information, especially in terms of gameplay when it came to Godfall. It's definitely feeling like it's going down the Borderlands 3 route, but I'm kind of happy with that. Like I said, open world from Borderlands, I'll take, loot from Borderlands, I'll take, events from Borderlands, I'll take, gameplay, I'll take, the size of the game, I'll take, and hopefully the size of the DLCs, I will gladly take. So take the good aspects from Borderlands 3, put it in Godfall along with its own melee combat system and its fantasy environment, and I think we might actually have a really good game. But let me know what you all thought about it personally, and if you kind of are okay with this direction, or were you kind of hoping for a different or more traditional style looter? Definitely be sure to let me know in the comment section below. So thank you all for watching, and like always, links to my social media accounts will be in the video description. Be sure to leave a like if you liked the video. If you didn't, don't. I am out of here. Thanks for the love, thanks for the subs, and be sure to join the Discord. Peace.